Lesson 65, XY and Bubble Charts. In this lesson, we'll take a look at how to plot correlations with XY or scatter charts, some XY chart options, and then how to add a third dimension with bubble charts. We'll also take a look at how we can create an XY chart from two completely different series. Okay, so here we have cities, their north latitude, and their average January temperature. And we want to see if there's a relationship between latitude and January temperature. On the Insert tab, I'm going to choose Scatter Chart and choose a scatter chart with just the points. You'll see here that what we get for every point in our original data set, so Anchorage has a latitude of 61 and a temperature of 13, we should be able to find around 60, there's Anchorage, with 61 and 13, and we should be able to see some sort of a correlation between these items. Now, a couple of things we want to do with scatter charts. On the Layout tab, let's remove the legend and add axis titles. The axis title below the horizontal axis is the first item, so in this case, that should be latitude. And then we'll add axis titles for the vertical axis, and that should be temperature. Okay. Now, to see if there's a correlation between temperature and latitude, we can ask Excel to draw in a trend line. I merely right-click on the first series and choose Add Trend Line. Excel can create exponential, linear, or other trend lines. I'm going to choose linear, but I'm going to ask for Excel to display the equation on the chart and display the r² value on the chart. So here we have our equation. I'm going to move it to a spot where we can see it. This gives us the equation of the trend line in the form of y equals mx plus b, and r² tells us how well there's a correlation between those two items. R² varies from 0 to 1. If you have a 1, it means there's a perfect correlation. If you have a 0, it means there's no correlation at all. It's completely random. So here, a correlation of 0.723 means that there is some relationship between latitude and temperature, at least apparently, but it's not a perfect relationship. Well, that's the basic XY or scatter chart. You'll notice in the Insert dialog, there's a few different types of scatter charts. And when we connect the scatter chart with a line, we have a choice of doing direct angles or rounding the line. Let me plot a sine wave here, and you'll see that if we choose the direct angles, our sine wave looks a little bit jagged. However, if I would change the chart type to an XY with a curved line, click OK, Excel extrapolates and interpolates, and we end up with a nice, perfect curve. Now, it's possible to use the XY charts to create some pretty interesting diagrams. Of course, you have to go through pretty much with a grid paper and figure out exactly where each of these items is going to show up, but you could actually do some basic drawing by plotting out all of the edges or corners of your shape in an XY chart. For those of you who don't recognize it, that's the Mr. Excel guy at mrexcel.com. Okay, so XY charts are great when we have two values, X and Y. We run into some problems when we want to label the points in an XY chart, because when we label them, it's going to want to label those points with the numbers, 47 and 37.2. Excel really doesn't have any good way of labeling these points, and so we have to go outside of Microsoft to a third-party tool. Rob Bovey has a great tool that is used by everyone who's encountered this problem. It's called the XY Chart Labeler, and Rob makes it available completely for free. If you go to appspro.com and download the chart labeler, you can install an add-in that makes it very easy to add chart labels. Once you've installed Rob's add-in, back here on the Add-ins tab, we'll have chart labels. Say that we want to add labels and specify a label range. We can also control what the label goes above. I think it would probably be best here to go right. Click OK. And Interestingly enough, we get the labels. Unfortunately, they must be in the wrong color. I'll go back to Home and I'll try and change the font color of those labels. There we go, that works. Alright, so we're all dealing with some bugs here as we go to Excel 2007 charting, and that clearly was a bug where those ended up in a white color instead of red, although easy enough to fix by changing the font color. Alright, XY charts are great for two sets of data. Here I have a different situation. I want to go buy a used car and I want to look for Land Rovers in the classified section of the newspaper. I classified everything by the age of the car, how many miles it had in thousands, and the price of the car. And I want to see if there's a relationship between age, mileage, and price. Well, I could build one chart that compares age to price and another chart that compares mileage to price. But instead, using a bubble chart, I can compare all three of these items. So we'll use Insert. I'll go to Scatter and choose All Chart Types. At the bottom, we have bubble charts. I'll choose the 2D bubble and click OK. Now, a couple of situations here. First of all, the bubbles are too large and the chart's too small. So I'm going to move this chart to its own sheet. And now I'll right-click and Format Data Series. I'm going to scale the bubble size to 50. And on the Fill tab, I'm going to vary colors by point. Click Close. So now we have a situation where we have age of the car going across, the mileage of the car in thousands going up, and the size of each bubble shows the relative price of the bubble. So I can see that if I want to get out to the point where I'm paying $79.95 for the car, I either have to have 120,000 miles and 13 years old, and so on. If I'm looking for a car with less than 60,000 miles, I'm probably going to be paying at least 15,000 or more. Bubble charts are very interesting, although they require a bit of tweaking. I'm also going to point out that there is a setting here, Format Data Series, where we can have the size represent the area or the width. I'm going to argue that choosing width is completely misrepresentative and something you should never do. Click Close. Okay, so that's a bubble chart. Let's take a look at one more example, and this is where we create an XY chart with two different series. Let's say that I took all of our employees and I broke them out into two groups, those who had not gone to college and those who had gone to college, and I want to compare their salaries for those two groups. I'm going to choose the first series and create an XY chart. And so we have those plotted as blue, but now I want to add a new series. Well, to do this, I'm going to go to the Design tab of Chart Tools, choose Select Data, and say that I want to add a brand new series. My series name is going to be College. My series X values are the education values here, and where it already has series Y values with just a 1, I need to delete that and specify this range here. Click OK, and you see that we've now added a brand new series. The first series is shown as blue dots, the second series is shown as red dots, and you can see that while the salaries vary, there definitely is a very clear grouping between the people who had had some college and the people who did not have college. This is called a paired XY chart. It's a great chart, although as you can see, it's not completely obvious how to create the chart from scratch. Well, there you have it. I hope you found that helpful, and thanks for watching.
Looking to advance your career by acquiring new skills? Tired of expensive off-site training programs? Wish you could learn from the best instructors in the industry? Look no further than live lessons. Self-paced, personal video instruction by the world's leading technology publishers. Each live lesson comes with a DVD featuring 3 to 4 hours of instructor-led classroom training, sample program code that allows you to work along with your personal instructor, and an example-rich study guide. Live lessons allow you to watch the entire course from start to finish, or navigate directly to any of the individual lessons. You'll literally watch over the shoulder of your instructor as he shows you how to build state-of-the-art applications. Live lessons, the power of the world's leading technology experts at your fingertips. To learn more, visit mylivelessons.com today.